It's not fair to him to be on hold and to not let him go forward and experience things because you're afraid that something could happen. The day that little Will was diagnosed, he was just barely a year old. He would wake up in the middle of the night. He was inconsolable, and that was so not like him. He was such a happy, good-natured, easy baby. It was like he was trying to crawl out of something. Oh, it's just acid reflux. It's just occult sinusitis. And you want so badly to believe that it's something so simple, so curable. That nagging feeling in the pit of your stomach that this isn't the right answer. It's not, there's something else going on. Something is really wrong. It was a Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock, so they just had their coffee. They were willing to listen. It wasn't, you know, they didn't have to triage us to the back of the room because he wasn't bleeding out. They listened to us, and they really took the time to listen to my fears and our concerns. He was still nursing at the time, and the timing was perfect. He was able to nurse and take a nap, so they didn't have to sedate him. And they put him right into the CT, and when we got those results, it was such a small baby to have such a large tumor. It was the size of a racquetball. It filled up his entire left cerebellum. It was an extremely aggressive tumor. I could even tell from the CT scan with my nursing background that this was terrible and that it was most likely malignant. You know, you hold your breath and it just falls away. Everything else just falls away. I think initially the hardest moment was going through consent. Informed consent for surgery and informed consent then for treatment. That was extremely difficult because it's so frustrating to know that there's no choice. It seems like a mean trick to put on someone that you could consent to this. I would never consent to have someone cut open my baby's head with the risk of brain damage, with the risk of death. He wasn't able to sit up. He really didn't want to eat. Thankfully, I was able to pump breast milk for him so he could have breast milk, and he didn't really want to even drink that. His mouth was sore. He had mucositis. He had diarrhea from antibiotics. He was wiped out and exhausted. He would wake up in the morning and just sleep on my chest. And I would lay him down for 15 minutes so I could just close my eyes. And then he would cry, or I'd have to change him, and then I would just hold him. And I sat probably for 2 or 3 days that way, just holding him and cuddling him and really not putting him down. And then to have this be my experience and to confide in a provider about it, and then for them to say, well, this isn't the worst it could be. So that was a low point. Little Will went through stem cell transplant 3 times. And that was so hard on his body and so hard on us emotionally. And to be isolated, to be admitted as a patient with him in the hospital for 3 weeks at a time in a room where we had to stay in the room at some points because he was so sick and so immunocompromised that isolation it's just devastating. And then to come home and now he's recovering, but we're still on isolation. I can't go to the grocery store. I can't go to work. I can't go to the bank. I can't be in contact with other people who are sick because I could bring that home to him. and he could die. So it's the fact that we survived treatment and now we're still in isolation, but we understand it and we're living it, but other people don't. It can lead to really a very detrimental way of thinking. And so I really tried not to go there, but it's really hard when you're going through it to not feel just completely decimated and hopeless. Little Will benefited from all the children who had been treated before him. He benefited from their experience in their clinical trials, so they knew that they did not want to give him radiation because of the devastating late effects that it would have for him. And so he didn't receive radiation. Of course, the data aren't available to know the long-term consequences of that. So maybe he will be okay because he didn't have radiation. And so maybe his quality of life will be better in the time that he is alive because he didn't get the radiation. But maybe that means his cancer will recur. Maybe he will have recurrence of tumor and then his chance for survival is 2%. So we have little Will and his twin sister Emily. And they are a pair. They are so funny. He's laid back, he's funny, he's a go with the flow kind of guy. He has excellent timing. He's this emotionally intelligent little guy. He can look at you and say something silly and just melt your heart. He would turn his head and give you the smile and bat his eyes, and he knows exactly how to read you and give you the line so that he gets what he wants. He's in a good place. He's doing very well. And so we're looking to the future. But it's almost in baby steps to sign up for preschool. And the day I turned in the registration, I cried because this was something normal. But for us, it's not been normal. To go out to supper as a family, to go have pizza and watch a movie, that's normal, but for us it's so abnormal because it hasn't been our experience for the last year and a half. And there are little celebrations you have to celebrate, but sometimes the tears just go. The sense of losing him is tangible in that moment. And I'll cry or I'll just hug him more tightly. And then lately he'll hold his hands up. Stop, do not cry, Mommy. Stop. To have that with the sense of it could go away makes me more present in the time that I'm with little Will and with Emily. When things are crazy and you're running around, it's sometimes easier to just take a deep breath and let it go, and just if we're having a good time, we're playing and we get muddy, whatever. A little mud, you can wash that off. The biggest comfort is that I can love them and they love me. There is that piece of it, and you don't want to be too happy when everything's normal because you know it could be taken away in a second. At the same time, you need to be brave and take a deep breath and go forward because little Will deserves to have a happy, healthy life, and he deserves for us to be fully present and with him in the life he has.